right. So first, Adam, I want to say thank you so much for working with me on this small project. I know we've done many Ask Adams with Rob in the past, but we're real excited to be doing our first edition of Ask Adam with Rob Facebook Live. So thank you so much.
How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing well. Excited about doing this. I know you have over 20 years mortgage experience working with clients. So I think you have a lot to bring to the table to a lot of my clients, a lot of my friends here on Facebook.
You're giving away my age already. You're always taking cheap shots at me, Rob.
Well, I'm hoping the series lasts long enough where I can be introducing you with 30 years experience.
Oh, knock on wood.
The great thing is you'll have the exact same amount of hair between now and then. So that's great.
Knock on wood. With God's help, we'll be here to do it forever for you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. So let's just start by just me asking, what are you seeing in the marketplace right now? I could imagine things are pretty hectic, low mortgage rates, a lot of people probably trying to refinance, probably a lot of first-time owners, homeowners looking to get in the market as well. So can you just walk us through that real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, as you did say, yes, I've been doing this for 20 years. I do apologize in advance if we hear any kids because they're still sleeping. If they run downstairs, I can't help it. But basically, it's an absolute frenzy. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never seen such chaos. When I say chaos, I mean, you know, between the clients who already own homes trying to refinance those loans and people trying to move for whatever reason, the mortgage people are inundated. And I think, you know, what's kind of unique about the situation today is that typically the business is spread out between the bankers, the brokers, and the bankers and the mortgage brokers. Right now, the banks are so out. When I say out, their rates are so bad, they're not really, you know, for the most part, for most loans, they're not really competitive. So not only is the typical mortgage person getting the business that they would normally get, plus their clients' refis, they're also getting all the people who are frustrated going to big lenders, finding out the rate they're getting quoted is 3.5 when it's really 2.75 with someone like us. So I think what we're seeing is a lot of mortgage people overworked, right? And much more difficult to get a hold of than they were before. I know I am as well. And it's only because of the market. It's just incredibly busy. So that will bring me to your people and you and the community. If you are looking to buy a house, do it early, right? Don't come late, come now. And so that whoever you're dealing with mortgage-wise might say to you, hey, I can't help you until Thursday, right? But on Thursday will be our day, rather than waiting till Thursday to find out they can't help you until 2 weeks from now. And that's how crazy it really is, Rob.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Really
And
is.
just on the real estate side, from what we're doing, it's getting pretty crazy for us. You know, I think I've mentioned in the past, I'm working with a few first-time homeowners, and you know, they'll go out, find great places. They're a little bit hesitant going into the market because it's their first time.
Right.
And with that hesitancy, the properties that they're liking are getting snagged up real quick, and I think it's scaring them off a little bit. So that's just on buying homes. So you're also doing the refinancing as well. So
yeah, I mean, and the refinancing is the really, it's really what's clogging up everything, right? There's so many refinances. I mean, if you think about it, you know, with 20 years experience, I've closed a lot of purchases. And throughout the time, you'll have, you know, borrowers for different reasons reach out for refinancing, right? But it was one by one over the course of time because they had, let's say, a unique situation and they needed cash out. But now it makes sense for pretty much anyone and everyone. So it's not the individual client, it's 20 years worth of clients calling their mortgage person and saying, you know, hey, I need to refinance, because nobody was in the twos. Nobody was ever in the twos. And now all of us are in the twos if we're able to have good credit and refinance. So that's really the driving force behind it. And then on top of it, you know, you have which is surprising to see, but you have an extremely competitive market, and people are, you know, bidding wars, and it's more competitive than I thought it was going to be 3 months ago.
Okay, yeah. So I know right before this, we were having a conversation. What does 2.75 mean when you're being a first-time homeowner? And we actually went through the numbers. We compared 2.75 to 4.25. How much more home can an individual afford at the same price at those rates? You want to walk us through that?
So the answer is if you called last year or a year and a half ago, let's say, at this time, and you said you wanted your payment to be $1,500, let's call it, I would say to you at that time when the rates were in the fours, you can borrow $300,000, okay? Now, fast forward, okay, with the same question, with the same payment, we now can borrow about $360,000.
360. So
Same
that's
payment. So it's about $60,000 more, right, on this original $300,000. So as you can see, I mean, the difference in the rate makes up a huge swing. So now, people who went out, a year and a half ago and liked the house but didn't love it and knew that if they could spend a little bit more, they would love it. Well, it's here, right? And those opportunities are easily presenting themselves with the lower rates.
Oh, nice. So basically, you're able to get a house at a value at $60,000 more for the same price. Let me just make sure I get that straight.
Correct. You can borrow $60,000 more, right? You were borrowing $3 before. Now you're borrowing $360 with the same payment.
So I actually see we have our first question I'd like to ask you. So Jenny is asking, when you refinance, does the new loan need to be locked for 30 years?
Absolutely not. So there's a lot of reasons why people do refinancing. So we'll talk about it real quick. The first reason is it's called the rate and term. I want a lower rate and I want a different term. It could be 30 years. It could be 15 years. It could be 10 years, right? Most people, Rob, they want 30. Very infrequently does someone want 15. But to answer that question, no, you do not need to go back to 30 years. You can go, let's say, for instance, to a 15-year. So I'll give you the example and the difference. If somebody has a 30-year mortgage and they're 10 years through it, they have 20 years left on their mortgage, right? Their rate was 4.25%. If that client called, and they could afford a little bit of a higher payment, I would say to them, hey, one of the ideas would be to take your loan and do a 15-year fixed, okay, at 2.5%, because you get a lower rate for the shorter term. But you get a higher payment because you're paying it off faster, right? So the answer to that question, it depends on the term. It could be a 30, it could be a 25, it could be a 20, it could be a 15. 1 out of 100 will pick probably 2, 3, 4 in a normal time. We'll pick the 15. Most of the time, people are talking about a 30. And my opinion is with the market, I'm not a huge 15-year fixed guy, right? Especially right now, I think, with the rates being so low, you can borrow more. You're getting money at the lowest. And I'm not huge on, I don't know where real estate market's going to go.
Yeah.
When you take a 15-year fixed, you're dumping tons of money into the principal. If it was me, I would like to have a cheaper payment and kind of diversify myself a little bit. Maybe take that extra money that I was going to put in the 15 and maybe put it in some sort of savings vehicle, right? I can always take my money and pay my mortgage down anytime I want. And I think that's one of the things people forget. Once you put your own money in, it's much harder to get it out. It's very easy to pay your loan down. So I would always caution people before they go ahead and they put these monster down payments down on houses, have a conversation with someone like me. I'm probably going to give you a different opinion. At the end, if you still want to do what you want to do, no problem. It makes our lives easier with more down payment. But I think everybody's so quick to put down 20%, 30%, not realizing, oh, so you're betting all your money on real estate right now and you have nothing in the bank, right? So if real estate goes down, where's your money, right? So I like to diversify, right? Take advantage of the low rates, take advantage of the tax write-offs and the, interest write-off, and kind of keep yourself even balanced. So that's why I'm a big fan of the 30, and you can always pay more on the 30-year.
So it also sounds like if you're 10 years into a 30-year mortgage, and then you refinance and you do a 30 years, you're actually going to be on a monthly basis saving a lot of money too. I mean, I guess it's not really saving.
Correct. So
you're
in
still
that
paying it over
scenario,
a year period, but the payment's going to be a lot less.
in Rob's
A lot more
scenario,
flexibility.
yes, in Rob's scenario, the person who had the loan for 10 years, if they call me and say that they want a 30-year fix, their monthly payments are going to be significantly less. Yes, right? Now, what happens with that is if they stayed with the loan they had 20 years from now, they would owe less than they would on my loan. The question always becomes, yes, but you're saving $300 a month every single month for the next 20 years. What did you do with that money? You got to put that into the equation. And money today, right, that you can invest and build is probably money that you don't know what the equity is going to be 20 years later. Maybe the house is worth $10 million and you could care less about the difference, right?
Yeah. Perfect. Well, we actually just got another question. My friend Jasper is asking, as a first-time buyer, would you recommend applying for an FHA loan? What would your advice be to him?
My advice was if they could change the name of the program, it would be my real wish, because it's very confusing, right? If I'm home and I never bought a house before and I hear first-time home buyer, I'm thinking that's for me because that's what I am. But really the way I want everybody on this call to look at it is, I would say, think of it like it's a first time possible if you don't meet some other qualifications, right? So the person who's sitting home, they're putting 5% down, they want to buy a house, they have good credit, they have a good job, they don't need the first time home buyer's product.
Yeah.
That's the consolation prize, right? They qualify for the first prize. They don't have to own a house before to get the first prize, right? They got the first prize because they have good credit, they have a good job, income, assets, they're good to go. The time when you take that FHA loan is when you cannot get what's called a conventional loan for a few different reasons. One of them could be your credit score. One of them could be a lack of down payment, right? And one of them could be you're trying to extend yourself further than a conventional loan would allow. So believe it or not, the conventional borrower can borrow less than the FHA person, right? So so if you wanted a house for $400, you came to me, Rob, and you said, I love this house, I want to do a conventional. I said, Rob, I can do a conventional loan for you for a house for $375 for not $400. If you want $400, I have to give you the first home product, which is the consolation prize because you didn't get the grand prize.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yeah, so it sounds like you're definitely recommending, if you qualify, you want to go conventional loan, because I know with the FHA loan, there's one extra hoop that you have to jump through.
Well, there's a bunch of other fees that you pay. You know, there's PMI that lasts forever. For those of you who don't know what PMI is, on any loan, if you put down less than 20%, we'll call it a monthly penalty. On a conventional loan, that monthly penalty eventually goes away when you get to 20%. On FHA, it lasts forever and it never goes away.
Okay.
In addition to that, on an FHA loan, if you buy a house for $500,000, right, almost 1.75% of the loan amount gets added back to what you owe. So you bought a house for $5,000, you thought you put down $10,000, but they added $9,000 onto the back of your loan.
Yeah.
So you really have $1,000 worth of equity, even though you put down $10,000. So there are disadvantages. However, if somebody wanted to buy a multi-family, okay, the minimum down payment for a conventional loan is for multifamily is 15%. The minimum for FHA is 3.5%.
Okay.
But that's only for two family, right? So there are specifics that you will use one product to another, but any of you who are listening, don't call the mortgage person and ask them, you know, if you can have that program. Because I will tell you, there's a lot of unscrupulous mortgage people that would love to put you in that program. It benefits them in some way, even though it's not supposed to, but it does in the long run. And so therefore, if you can qualify for conventional, That's the loan that you want.
Yeah. And even just adding one other point to that, being in northern New Jersey, we're in a very competitive housing market. So if I'm representing a client who has their house on the market and we get multiple offers and the same dollar amount comes in with those two offers, I would be advising my client to go with the conventional loan, because with the FHA loan, there's that one more inspection, that federal inspection that has to go on. That can actually cost my client a little bit of money.
Well, Rob is right. Rob is very right. What happens with that is it's not that there's a extra inspection. The appraiser comes to on both deals, on the conventional and the FHA. The only difference is that when the appraiser comes, he has like a checklist, and it has, is there any peeling paint? Is there any cracked windows? Is there any handrails that are not put up? Is there any, whatever, there's a checklist, right?
Yeah.
And when that comes on the report, right, it says subject to basically fixing it. So for instance, Rob's scenario, let's say Rob took the FHA people. He really liked them better. They were just nice people, but he connected with them, and the house was in bad shape. By Rob doing that, basically what's going to happen is they're going to get the mortgage. They're going to say, yes, you can have the mortgage, but tell the sellers you can't close until they fix all those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now Rob's client may be 75 years old or 80 years old and just wants to sell the place, doesn't have any connections to get anything fixed, and doesn't want to. And is more willing to just give them $5,000 like a normal person would on a conventional deal, just give them a credit. No, that's not going to work. It needs to be fixed, and you, Mr. Seller, need to do it.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference.
Yeah.
Right? Money's no good here, right? I can't just give you credit. It has to be fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think just to go a little bit more with Jasper's question, you really want to make sure you find an agent that you trust who knows the market. Because if you have a property out there for 1 or 2 days and you fall in love with it, going in with an FHA loan is probably not putting yourself in the most competitive situation. But if you have a property that's been on the market for 6-7 months that you can see being your next home, there's not a whole lot of public interest in that home. So an FHA loan in that scenario would be a little bit more competitive.
Just touching on what Jasper is saying, if you are going to be the FHA deal, remember, you're competing. So don't try to be the one who's going to steal the property. And guys, no one's stealing properties. It used to be different when the information wasn't out there for everybody. The information is at everybody's fingertips. When there's price reductions, everybody gets it. Everybody gets it. And believe me, if your house was $500,000 and you were getting no looks at it, the day you lowered it to $425, the line will be out the door. People know, right? Yeah. My point is, if you're going to be the FHA deal and your agent's saying, listen, there's going to be other offers on this, listen to your agent. And if you're not listening to your agent, you're probably just dealing with the wrong agent. It doesn't work, right? Because the agent's job is to get it for you. They don't want you to pay more, but they want to get you the house. So I hear all the time agents tell their client, tell me, I told them they need to be the number one bid, and they lost it by $20,000. They weren't even close.
Yeah.
Right? Stealing houses doesn't really exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? There's a lot smarter people out there than me and you, and they're stealing them with cash, not with a mortgage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to go a little bit more on that, like I know builders are out there and they've already put in a lot of offers on these properties. So if somebody is going to be stealing it, it's going to be the builders because they're offering cash for those properties.
Right. So usually it's cash and it's quick because you let too much time go by and people wake up and know they're getting ripped off, right?
Yeah.
Cash, it's given to me, and then tomorrow I can't change my mind, right? When there's too much time on the table and someone's getting a mortgage, you don't think the seller's going to realize he's underpricing the house, right? So there's no deals, right? I mean, you get what you pay for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while, I think I've seen maybe one time in my life when someone actually bought a foreclosure. Everybody buys a foreclosure and tells you, oh, it's going to be worth so much more. Usually, it's worth what they're paying for in most cases. That's why I always tell people when they're only telling their realtor, I only want short sales and I only want, you're dragging this thing out. It's a long process and you're probably not getting a discount, right?
Yeah, I'm working on a short sale right now, and there's a lot more hoops that we're jumping
Right,
through.
just more hoops, and then at the end, it may not work out. The bank has to approve the short sale, right?
Yeah. So we have a few more questions that just came in. So let me go ahead and take a look. So Jenny's asking, I heard that if you do a higher down payment, you get a better interest rate, or does that not apply in the current marketplace?
Actually, very false. If you loan for $400,000 and you put 10% down, as opposed to 20, I'll be offering you a little better rate on 10 than 20.
Okay, so it's just
Why? And so the next question is going to be why, right? Why is, remember what we said in the beginning, everyone. If you put less than 20% down, there's what's called mortgage insurance. That mortgage insurance somehow protects the banks, okay? If you don't pay, there's an insurance that they're taking. So at the end of the day, your rate will be a little favorable, believe it or not.
okay.
All right, but
Perfect.
that's not for all situations, Rob. I'm talking about loans 3, 4, 5, 6, 700. If you're talking about loans in the millions, forget everything we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Jasper asked another question. So is it recommended to pay off your mortgage faster, or is it not recommended to do that?
I mean, it's
I think that's going to come down to individual.
that one's a tough one. If I answer that one, and 20 years from now your house is worth what it is today, it won't be the right answer, right?
Mhm.
But if your house is worth more, a lot more, it could be a great answer. So that really is based upon where that person thinks real estate's headed, right?
Okay.
Because if you're paying off your money faster, you're
that.
dumping your money, that's your savings. You're dumping it into your equity. So maybe sometimes it's a little hard for people to understand, but if you bought a house for 4 and you put down 2 and you have a $200,000 mortgage, right? And all of a sudden the house goes down to 3, you lost $100,000 there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what our friend was asking, is it smart for me to keep dumping money just like the 200,000 we put down and get that lower, right? Well, it depends. If it goes to 500, yeah, but if it goes down, no, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually our houses, the market's typically going down, not typically by us, but I've certainly seen days and times in my life, and I've been in the business where, yeah, the housing market went down, it crashed. So
Yeah.
me, it's hard to advise those kind of things because it's a matter of opinion and where you think the world's headed. And
Yeah. And I mean, I think right now, I mean, there's so many question marks in what's going to happen over the next 6 months, year, probably even 5 years with the pandemic that just hit the United States so badly. So I think that's a big question mark as well. And nobody has a crystal ball on being able to answer that as well.
Well, look what we're doing, Rob. We're sitting in our living rooms on Zoom, right? So that,
yeah, I mean, I don't even really go into the office all
Right.
that much anymore. But I mean, it's great with all the technology that we have where I can work remote and have.
no, there's a lot of benefits. I think the world will change and the lending will change and a lot of things will change. But, you know, at the end of the day, when we're sitting in our living rooms trying to figure out what's going to happen later, it's kind of difficult to do that. Right?
Mhm.
'Cause, again, we're not even out of our houses yet.
Yes. So we had another question just come in. When you get a pre-approval, how long is the pre-approval good for?
When we run your credit is good for 120 days, right?
Okay.
Your pre-approval is really good for that time period as long as you have the job. So you're approved. If I give you a pre-approval today and you're working, right, and you have that pre-approval in your hand and you get fired a month from now, even though you have it in your hand, it's not worth anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, how long is a pre-approval up? It's really, it lasts for as long as you are who you applied as when you came. Meaning, if a client calls me up after 4 months and says, I need a new pre-approval, I'll say, okay, I'll rerun the credit. Still at the same job? Yeah. You didn't leave? No. Same income? Yeah. Good. Here's your new letter.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. They don't have to reapply. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds great. But by the time that they're willing to move forward on a property, the scenario has to be the same. They have to have basically the same job or same income, verify the same income.
Wouldn't have the same job. I wouldn't have a problem with someone who says, I was making 100 salary when I came to you. You know, you gave me a pre-approval. By the way, I changed jobs. I'm making 100,000 in my new job. No problem. Call me and tell me that you opened up a pizza place and we have an issue.
Yeah.
Right? But
Well,
job to
if
job,
somebody is self-employed, how long would it take them? 2 years. I already knew the
2
answer to
years,
that, but I wanted to get that out there because you brought up the
2
pizza.
years, 2 years.
Yeah.
And then we better hope that pizza person's, declaring his taxes properly. Otherwise, just because you have your business for 2 years doesn't mean you're qualifying for a loan. It just means that, you couldn't qualify unless you showed your taxes for 2 years.
Okay. So basically, it's the income comes strictly from taxes.
Correct. Very, very, very important for all the people who are on there. And again, I don't know who's on or not, but if you're self-employed, your situation is trickier. Okay. And when you talk to a mortgage person and they ask you what your income is, don't tell them your income, what your gross is, because that's not the number they're using. They're using your net. So after you went to see your CPA and you and that person, like many people, try to manipulate the taxes and write off different things. And, oh, I did miles and I can use my living room as an office. And that's coming off your income. That affects what your income is.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. We have another question. Can you refinance more than once? For example, if I refinance my mortgage a few years ago, can I take advantage of the new low rate? I know I'm taking you away from work.
Yeah, we can. If you refinance when?
So I guess in this scenario, she refinanced a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Maybe at 4.5%. Now it's at 2.75. Can she refinance now?
It's one of my favorite questions, to be honest with you. So my thing is, and I'm going to give you a strange analogy, but this will make it work. If I brought you to a great restaurant 2 years ago, would you go back?
Of course.
If you were what? If you were hungry.
Yeah.
Right? If you weren't hungry, you wouldn't want to go, right? So the analogy is, if you're staying in your house, which is the hungry, then yeah, it makes sense because it's a numbers game. What you did 2.5 years ago is over and done. So every time you look at it, I have people that I've refinanced three times already since 2 years ago. Because what happens is, anyone who bought a house 6 months ago, I've already refinanced them, all of them, because they were, I'm making it up at the time, 3.75, and now it's 2.75, right? So all of those people are staying in the home. They just bought it, right? So the reason why you don't want to refinance if you're leaving is because you are paying an expense, right? There is an expense related. So if I told you, Rob, I can save you $200 a month on your refi, and you go, well, that's $2,400 a year. And I say to you, Rob, how long are you staying in the house? And you go, oh, we're out of here in a year. Well, the closing cost costs $35, but I saved you $24. So you didn't save anything. So that wouldn't make sense. But take this scenario and do it for the next 30 years because you're in the house. So the answer is, if you can go from 4.5 and you're staying in the house, and you, the person, I forgot the name, that person should be lucky that they didn't jump the bait too early and already go from 4.5 to 3.5, and now we got to do it again.
Yeah.
So they're in an unbelievable position. Probably, I would say they waited too long. Where were they? But by snoozing, in this particular case, they're going to win. Does that make sense?
In those situations, would the best thing to do just reach out to your trusted mortgage banker and have those
100%.
conversations? Because I know there would be a lot of different variables that would.
There is no one that I know in the fours right now, rate-wise. The only people that are in the fours are people who can't get out of it, right? The only time you don't refi is if you're moving. But if anyone has a rate in the fours and they're staying and you can qualify, you couldn't show me an argument for not to do it. It wouldn't work. There's no argument to it, right?
So I know we're almost out of time. I just want to ask, so we know the mortgage rates are a little bit under 3%. What should people be doing now to take advantage of those low rates?
Call Rob King. And then Rob King will lead you right to me, and then you can go out looking for houses. But I think if you're talking about people who are purchasing, be prepared. That's my advice. Don't wake up on Sunday, call Rob, say, I want to see houses Sunday, and expect for everything to work well. These are unprecedented times. So do your research, find who you like, okay? I just had a client yesterday. He's asking me between, two attorneys, one that I had, recommended, and someone who, and he said, I'll use who you want. Don't use who I want. Interview both of them, right? See who you connect with, right? Because who I connect with and who you connect with is two different things. And I'm not the one dealing with them. You are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do if I was an agent, a buyer, my first thing would figure out who I trust and who I can trust, right? It makes zero sense to use a real estate agent if you don't trust them. It's just that simple, right? Because what you're really doing is you're making it harder for them and you're making it harder for me. And if I was an agent, me personally, I wouldn't be working with anyone who didn't trust me, okay? And I would establish that first. Is there a trust? Are we on the same page? What do you expect from me as a client? What do I expect from you as an agent? If you can make a deal there, the next step is get it pre-approved. And I think it's a great idea personally. A lot of people, well, I don't want to use Rob's mortgage guy. We're not getting anything. Believe me, we are not. It's totally illegal. We get zero. And to be honest, we don't need to give anything to so much business. What you're getting is good client, right? Happy client will refer Rob in the future. So make no bones about it. When Rob sends you to me, his main goal is that you're happy so that you rant and rave about the people that he's referred you to, okay? And then we all get referrals because we did a great job, all right? If you don't get the loan, the house doesn't sell, right? No one closes. So please, I think, the misconception of, oh, don't you want to use my realtor's person? That's terrible. I think using your realtor's person is a great idea. Now, the key is that your realtor's source is honest. So if the niche that he's calling in isn't what he does best, that he at least finds you somebody that can do better for a particular type of deal, right?
Yeah.
But starting with the realtor's person, I think, is the best choice.
Yeah. So, I think 2 points on that. One, we just have a fiduciary responsibility to represent our client the best as possible. So we're not trying to do anything unethical and take advantage of them. And then 2, the great thing about working with, the people that I've worked with in the past is I know I can call them up and they're going to answer their phone right away versus using somebody I haven't worked with in the past. Who knows how easy it is going to who knows how easy it's going to be for me to get that person on the phone to ask those questions, to find out where they're at in the process.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions that we had come in. Sounds great. So, Adam, thank you so much for doing our first edition of Facebook Live. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I hope it was a great experience, as great of an experience for you.
It was, and I'm expecting to hear from that person at 4.25% on the refi.
And as always, I enjoy these conversations so much because I feel like I learn a ton as well from them.
Rob, I love being on your show, and I appreciate it. And
well, it's our
with me, I'm always going to be candid.
For my name in the title, so it's
Thank you so much, Rob.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.